Hello and welcome to another Cliff Reviews Art House. This time I'm reviewing the film Happy as Lazarro, directed by Alice Rohrwacher. So I went to the cinema to see Alice's new film La Chimera, and I've done a separate review on this, and it made me think of the film Happy as Lazarro, which I watched a while back, and I absolutely loved this film. And I just felt the strong urge to watch it again. Wow, this is such a great film. As I said in my review of La Chimera, Alice's films are not necessarily an easy watch, but they're deep, they're beautiful, they stay in your mind afterwards. I think that this film is absolutely fantastic. At some level, it's a film about the mundane lives of poor people, both in a rural and urban setting, but it's also about class, about exploitation, about slavery, about poverty. So I think her films are highly political, but never in a polemic way. Her message always comes through with a kind of gentleness, nuanced, and for me this is just so effective. I find all of her work deeply spiritual, but again, not in a kind of pushy way. Again, it's really nuanced. For me, Lazarro is a Christ-like figure, absolute selflessness. He merely serves others. And there's something really mysterious about him. It's not just simply that he's a bit simple and is a doormat. For me, I have the feeling that something divine is going on here. At least that's the way I read it. People often describe Alice's work as magical realism. I think it's deeply religious, but with a nuance, an ambiguity. It's not explicitly religious. It still works if you just see it as magical realism. I think this film shares a lot with Bresson's Au Hasard Balthazar. Lazarro really reminds me of the donkey Balthazar in Bresson's masterpiece. When Antonia sees him after all those years, he's exactly the same, and she realises that something mystical is happening. I found this a profoundly moving moment. Antonia goes down on her knees before Lazarro, like she recognises him as Christ. She knows how Christ-like he was from when she was young. What I really loved about this is how sparing Alice is with the filmmaking here. She could easily have used music here to emphasise how big this moment is, to really stir the emotions, but no, it's done in a minimalist way. Next to the railway tracks on a dirt road, for me this is an extraordinary scene. Fantastic filmmaking. Of course, this is just the way I reacted to the film. I love how it's really open and very ambiguous. The story of the saint and the wolves sets a kind of context to Lazarro without giving too much away. Alice wants us to experience the film in our own way. I'm sure that there are different interpretations of this film according to what you bring to it. For me, Lazarro brings something to the lives of the people around him. There are wolves in life. Life is precarious and exploitative, but even the wolves recognise goodness. He has a big impact on Antonia. The family has a scam going to rip people off selling valuable objects that they've come across. Lazarro makes no judgment of her whatsoever, but his very presence makes her uncomfortable with the scam. And then, despite spending money they desperately need on the pastries for the lunch they're invited to, and despite it turning out that there is no lunch, she still gives the pastries away. A very Christ-like act. The last time they see Lazarro after this generosity, the family talk about going back to the village, and there's a beautiful sense of optimism and hope. There's a lot of ambiguity in the ending of this film, so I'm not sure how much of a spoiler this is, but I am going to talk about the ending here. Lazarro is effectively killed by the mob in a very Christ-like way, but we know he's not dead. As with the previous time we saw him die, he will be back if needed. At least that's what I took from this. There's such an emphasis on the wolf leaving the scene at the end that it did make me wonder if Lazarro's spirit is somehow within the wolf. At the time of his reawakening earlier in the film, the wolf is present, and that feels significant. I'm not sure about this. There's a lot of ambiguity here. It's not possible to work it all out, but it works really well for me. By the end, as an experience, the film really feels complete. This is what makes it a masterpiece for me. A truly great film. I couldn't give it a higher recommendation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.